Is Russia's embassy now under attack inside a NATO nation, just as the wider war with the West intensifies, pushing tensions with Europe into an even more dangerous phase? Are mysterious drones now striking Putin's embassy in Sweden, turning a quiet Stockholm neighborhood into the latest front in Russia's confrontation with Europe? After more than 15 recorded attacks on its mission, is Moscow finally saying enough is enough and warning that further incidents could trigger a serious response? As Russian officials talk openly about Europe devoting itself to confrontation, is Moscow now suggesting that a broader war with Europe is becoming almost inevitable?
There is no doubt that Europe is escalating the situation. There is also no doubt that, as the European Union develops its own defense identity, it has embarked on a path of militarization, and the fact that it has, in effect, devoted itself to confrontation with the Russian Federation is likewise beyond doubt.
After months of reported drone incidents, Russia now says a fresh attack has struck its embassy compound in Sweden, adding another case to a growing list of complaints. On July 2nd, Moscow reported that 2 drones targeted its embassy compound in Stockholm, flying low over the grounds before being brought down. One of the drones allegedly dropped a container filled with red paint inside the embassy grounds, splashing buildings and symbolically marking the compound. A second drone, said to be carrying a mock explosive device, reportedly crashed close to embassy buildings, heightening fears among staff even if no blast followed. Russia claims the incident was a deliberate attempt to intimidate its diplomatic personnel, framing the attack as political theater with a threatening edge. Interestingly, this is not the first time the Russian embassy in Sweden has come under attack, with previous drone flights and stunts already on the record. Moscow insists that Sweden bears full responsibility for the security of its diplomatic missions, demanding stronger protection on Swedish soil. Russian officials have cited the Vienna Convention, reminding Stockholm that international law obliges host states to safeguard embassies and diplomats. The embassy complains that Swedish police have so far only formally documented the incidents, without delivering visible results or arrests. Russia says investigations have repeatedly failed to identify or charge those behind the drone attacks, fueling its anger at what it calls Swedish inaction. Notably, Moscow claims that more than 15 drone attacks or overflights targeting its Swedish embassy have been recorded since May 2024, painting a picture of a sustained campaign.
This morning, during his regular briefing to the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov also reported on the results of the Russian Armed Forces' massive retaliatory strike on Kyiv and other populated areas, stressing that the strikes were, of course, carried out exclusively against military or military-related facilities. There is no doubt that Europe is escalating the situation. There is also no doubt that, as the European Union develops its own defense identity, it has embarked on a path of militarization, and the fact that it has, in effect, devoted itself to confrontation with the Russian Federation is likewise beyond doubt. This factor further exacerbates the already heightened tensions on the European continent. This factor makes us to plan additional measures to ensure our own security. As for the discussions on how that security should be ensured, you are aware that there are proponents, including academics, of very drastic measures, just as there are advocates for more restrained approaches. But one thing is beyond doubt. The secure protection of the Russian Federation and its national interests will be guaranteed, come what may.
Russia launched one of its biggest attacks on Kyiv just hours after President Zelensky warned that a major strike could be imminent. Waves of cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones targeted the Ukrainian capital overnight between July the 1st and 2nd. Ukrainian officials said at least 1 person was killed, while 11 others were injured in the attacks. Explosions rocked all 10 districts of Kyiv as Russian strikes hit residential buildings, hotels, and key parts of the city. A 9-story residential building partially collapsed, trapping several residents beneath the rubble. A hotel in central Kyiv caught fire, while multiple buildings across the capital were left engulfed in flames. Ukraine said Russia carried out the assault in coordinated waves, beginning with drones before launching ballistic and cruise missiles. Officials also claimed some of the strikes involved hypersonic Zircon missiles aimed at Kyiv. Thousands of residents spent hours sheltering inside Kyiv's metro stations as air defense systems worked to intercept the barrage. President Zelensky cut short his visit abroad after intelligence warned of a large-scale Russian attack.
Today, we have very unpleasant information about yet another Russian preparation for such a massive attack. Our intelligence has relevant information, and immediately after our press conference, after our meeting, I will be very quickly returned to Ukraine. And today, I ask our people to be especially careful to protect themselves, their families, and their children. Making sure you use shelters and need air raid alerts is very important in Ukraine.
Ukrainian authorities also reported explosions in Zaporizhia, Kyiv, Sumy and Pavlograd during the overnight assault. The latest strikes came as Russia intensified its air campaign despite continued Ukrainian drone attacks. Ukraine warned that the massive barrage shows Moscow remains determined to escalate the war rather than ease tensions. Amid renewed attacks, Ukraine says Russia could be preparing for another push toward the capital, Kyiv. Ukraine's Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky made the claims during an interview with TSN on June 30th. Syrsky says President Putin has ordered Russia's general staff to prepare new plans for a possible Kyiv offensive. According to Syrsky, the most likely scenario is a Russian strike from Bryansk into Ukraine's Chernihiv region. He says the objective would be to widen the front line and force Ukraine to divert troops from other sectors. Syrsky added that an attack through Belarus is still being assessed but is considered a less likely option for now. Alexander Syrsky said, and I quote, "Considering recent events, I do not think that the leadership of Belarus will dare to provide the aggressor with its territory to use as a staging ground for conducting an offensive operation. At the same time, we are taking such an option into account." Unquote. Ukraine has ordered the mandatory evacuation of 12 border settlements in the Chernihiv region starting July 1st. Authorities have also expanded earlier evacuation orders to include 7 more border communities. Syrsky says marshlands, destroyed bridges, and the Kornobyle direction all provide strong defensive advantages for Ukraine. He added that Ukraine has already reinforced its northern defenses to prepare for any possible Russian advance. Sberbank chief Herman Greff says Russia wants to bring the war to an end as quickly as possible. According to reports, Greff says the desire for peace is shared by many people across Russian society. Recent opinion polls suggest that around 81% of Russians support an immediate end to the conflict. Analysts say Greff's remarks reflect growing concern over the economic cost of the prolonged war. Despite backing the Kremlin for years, Greff appeared increasingly concerned about the conflict's long-term impact on Russia. Russia's defense ministry claimed major battlefield gains on June 30th from operations carried out the previous day. Moscow said Bogodarovka was captured after Russian forces pushed Ukrainian troops back. Russian Ministry of Defense said, and I quote, "Assault detachments of the 36th Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade, 29th Combined Arms Army, Vostok Group of Forces, liberated the settlement of Bogodarovka by pushing Ukrainian formations off the lines on the right bank of the Gaicha River. In the course of the liberation of the settlement, the enemy lost more than a platoon of manpower, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 7 motor vehicles, over 60 Baba Yaga-type hexacopters. The liberation of Bogodarovka made it possible for the group's units to gain a foothold on the right bank of the Gaicha River and disrupt defense of the armed forces of Ukraine in this area. The occupied line creates conditions for further action in the area of Alexandrovka and the advancement of the Vostok Group's troops in Dnipropetrovsk region." Unquote. Russia also released footage it said showed an attack on Ukrainian UAV command posts. A huge shockwave was reported after Russia said it dropped 5 aerial bombs in Donetsk. Russian Geran drones were also said to have destroyed an enemy electronic warfare command post. The reported high-precision drone strike was said to have taken place in Nikopol in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Russia's defense ministry also claimed strikes using 5 OFAB 250-270 aerial bombs in Kharkiv. Russia claimed Geran attack drones struck a Ukrainian Special Forces training camp in the Mykolaiv region during a precision strike operation. Russia's defense ministry said Geran UAVs targeted a special operations boot camp near Pribuzky used by Ukrainian forces. Russian Defense Ministry visuals purportedly showed a Geran drone slamming into the target before triggering a massive explosion. The released footage appeared to show thick black smoke and debris billowing into the air as the strike devastated the compound. Moscow said the German drones engaged the designated target in a self-tracking mode during the reported attack. Russia also claimed the operation struck troop concentration areas being used by Ukrainian Special Forces units. The Defense Ministry said the reported strike destroyed depots storing special-purpose watercraft and high-speed motorboats. Russian officials further claimed Ukrainian uncrewed surface vessels were among the military assets targeted during the operation.